Hi, good afternoon, or yes, already 11, 12 o'clock. My name is, let me go back here to the first expression. My name is Wilson Cristancho. I'm delighted to be here, invited by the Data Geeks group. And this session we're going to try to talk a little bit high-end, high-level at 5G and private networks and some IoT cases and the impact that basically has in us, the data professionals, on trying to look at new things and what's coming and how do we adapt to that. Basically, this is what you saw on this session. My company is called Network Media Communications, and 2 years ago in 2018, we started another company called NMC IoT, just to focus directly on what's coming on IoT. I've done some presentations before on our group on SQL Saturday. This was we were able to make it in 2020, the last session, and this was at Microsoft. It was a small group, but it's all about apps, Power Apps, and Power BI and such. And we have a couple other sessions later, and just look at the schedule, and we'd love to have you in our session. Okay, basically the same thing happens, and we put this slide before COVID. We weren't quite sure that this was going to be so applicable, but in many different ways, what we're trying to say is that it was time to look at things differently, to try to adapt, and we saw so many technologies coming online that we needed to move forward, and basically you had to take a step forward and stand and start working on all those new technologies. Obviously, we can see the progression from, obviously this is Apple, but we got IBM, we got Microsoft, but this is what customers see. It's the boxes, it's the computers, it's the logos moving forward. I've been working on telecom for quite some time. First was in IT for many years. I always wanted to move to telecom because I wanted to make sure we brought the data concept into it. And so I worked for Ericsson for many years, building the 3G and 4G network. And we created a foundation to put an IP core network so we could later on build applications. So as 5G is starting to come into South Florida, we got more involved, been involved with CES for many years, but in 2016 more actively, and looking forward to bringing 5G online to the United States. I think the United States and the Americas learned quite a bit rolling out 3G and 4G. And this time they didn't want to fall behind. Plus, we had the environment and the platforms and the applications. People were asking for more bandwidth. So this is just a high-end look at the things that we had to work on into 2020 as an agenda. Obviously, this is starting 2017, 18, and those areas. We were not really thinking or had any idea what was going to happen with COVID. But we knew we had to build all the networks. So this is just high-end stuff of things that we had in our agenda to work on. Devices was one of us, very important. Ericsson left that because some relationships we have with Sony and other ones, they finally realized that they were very good. We're building core network. And we at Network Media Communications is one of our vendors, along with partnerships that we do with Microsoft and Samsung and IBM and Apple. What we're interested in is about applications and data and messaging at the core of this whole thing. And so it was born NMC Cloud at the beginning for us, and from Network Media, and then later on we moved on to building. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Building the concept of what we wanted to do. And basically, we in the telecom world, everybody talks about terminals. But yeah, basically, we saw everything else as a terminals. Your phone is a radio. It's not a phone. A tablet is probably more a computer. Your standard desktop on your laptop. But all devices. And what we saw coming online was having to build a network to connect all these devices. And shortly, what became eventually IoT. And we formed our company just to get at the forefront and all that. There are some videos. I don't want to play them through. I have a blog that later on I'll share with you later, or I'll put it in on my notes and my PowerPoint applications that I leave, so you can link there. And I have some videos, because at the end of the day, it translates to people working on the ground, and this is what it takes to replace replace the antennas, to do the work, to get everything ready. And the whole work started very early in 2018, 2019, even early in 2017 too. But completely unaware of what was around the corner with COVID now in 2020. And so we started building this. We built this rollout blog. I'll share with you later. There are certain things I cannot release from my relationships with Ericsson and other places. But basically, little by little, we're going to have a meetup eventually, and it'll be more focused on application development and data and IoT specifically. But right now, I just basically show some of the things that we've done on rolling out 5G in the US and worldwide. Getting into IoT, it's the biggest issue, and I sit in some of the boards with IEEE and the Internet Group, um, trying to stabilize and trying to define some standards. You know, this is very common. This is very common at the beginning of the Internet too, although the web was part of HTTP at the core and so many things. But eventually, the networking over so many years, 20 years, has evolved tremendously. So now trying to standardize with vendors and devices and protocols, it's quite a bit, and it's a spectrum right here where you can see from one side to the next. I don't want to bore you into this nor give you details. There's others, the current challenge of trying to stabilize and bring standards on board. This is what's relevant to us, you know, and I consider us, because I'm a developer too, I've been working with data and messaging, and this is what's moving forward. And I have to explain it as CTO very simple to my customers, and it's basically the interaction of three new environments, technologies, whatever you want to call them, ecosystems basically, and it's the data, AI, and cloud. And so somewhere in the middle and there, they will interact, and that's what either the enterprises, the developers, and the solutions will be in the solutions. And as we look at data, data comes in many different spectrums too. So you can probably read this slide, and you've probably seen it somewhere else too. But it has to do with everything else. Right here on the top, there's just data integration and data processing pipelines. That's what we're focusing on right now, because that's where the data comes from many different devices, and it will come from 5G and many different things. Where does the data background comes from us? You know, many years network media communications. We moved from the networking aspect implementation to the media. Obviously, everybody knows social media and videos and all that, and eventually to communications. And that took us almost 30 years to get there. And in the communications with social media and everything that had to do, you all probably know about SEO and the engines. And we had to explain it and the impact to the marketing funnel and how to do marketing and sales, and data was at the core of showing results and showing that the payback to the projects and the applications and all that. I don't want to bore you with sorry with details, but basically that's what has been happening in the last few years. Now going back now to applications, what applications are being rolled out? We got here in Miami-Dade County, we support some software development for some applications. This is one that is production. This physically one was installed last year during the pandemic. In one of my mom's apartment. She's a senior person with 80 years old. Obviously, she doesn't have an app and she doesn't know how to handle this thing. So I managed the whole implementation, not only on one side as trying to get the apps and the process going, but on the inner side, I use her as a test, beta, and production. So it was a pretty rare process. And I pay myself with my own credit card. So, and he's been working pretty fine. So this is one concept of what IoT can do. These smart devices. This is paying big, handsomely for the FPL and for many and for water departments. These are vendors that actually doing the work for Miami-Dade County Water. But basically, the mode of payment now it's with credit card, with debit card. I believe they're going to do Bitcoin eventually, or cryptocurrencies. And this is paid on a monthly basis, and you have to go through a process of read a card with an app and make the payment on site. Or you can pick up a smart card that has the record and go to a station, a kiosk, and pay. So this is something that is already live, is moving forward. Obviously, this one is an interview, and this is more of a Microsoft thing, Microsoft Ignite Live. And one of the videos they had and they share was basically to talk about the impact that COVID-19 had on FedEx and that controlling of quality and basically everything that had to do with the logistics to move the vaccines and the requirements specifically for manufacturers to get that done. UPS had the same situation, and so they were completely had to change a lot of processes to make that happen. But going back here into an Ericsson presentation that I already previewed before we rolled out, 5G was rolled out in 2019 in Barcelona, Spain, where I attended, and this is a presentation we had part of. Were released. It was released by Ericsson, and I had some part of that too, getting involved in IoT. 2.6 billion 5G subscriptions by 2025, and I think we're way on our way there due to COVID. Some of the issues here that we have to talk about is the 5G is not only the one that's bringing that up. Like I showed you before, there's already applications in production that were rolled out on their 4G LTE, and some applications that even rolled out on their Wi-Fi 5 or 6, which is the new version coming up. So there's a lot of things that already had gone through, and everybody has been using, like I showed you before, their own standard, their own way of applying it. So basically, that's just how it is. Some people get a head start, and cellular is the infrastructure they all want to make sure that they tap into when there's for the last mile type of thing access to devices. These are some statistics. This is Patrick and Richard Miller. This was 2019. I'll have some links for the Ericsson mobile report if you want to read it. There's also a 2020. They're releasing now twice a year. Before it used to be once a year because of the changes that are happening so quick. But these are some quick statistics of what is expected for 2025 in relation to 5G. Excuse me.
You've got some fans in the background.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry. Anyway, back into here. I'll just go through this pretty quick because everybody can read it and they can read it later. But you can see on the T-Pen 5G, and you can see out the spectrum of the different technologies. So, the one thing is you're not going to have to wait for 5G to roll out this thing. Those applications are already happening. The issues are happening with data and standards. And here's a little chart. The 5G basically spikes a little bit more, but 4G is already in its place. In essence, what's happening is 4G does not have the capacity to provide for all the applications that are needed. The 5G network forecast, basically this is some of the things, this is all Ericsson slides basically, and I'm just going to go through that real quick. Here is the combination of a different kind of chart. This basically, it's a chart that shows the distribution of the technologies, cellular technologies over the years. Now, here's something that it's probably more our interest as a data professional. The mobile data traffic grew 68%. And look at the years, 2019. I'm not preview yet to show those numbers for 2020, but they're already available at the Ericsson website. And I don't have access to that until after a year of that report being available in public. So that's a preview of Ericsson, but you can see this even prior to COVID with the impact on data is in the spike. What's driving all this data use? The data use that is being used in the mobile consumption, you can see it here. Obviously, they don't show the TV or the videos or the games and the replays and the binging, which is something that has been happening at the same time. But here's the new applications of 3D, and that's 25% from 2019 and beyond will be some of these applications. And this was some of the things talked about, but without even including the fact that everybody was going to work from home, and there would not be any access. If there wasn't no access from broadband at home, cellular start covering for all this. The strategy actually is this one here, fit in all these devices and get them all connected. And mobile broadband subscription is going to spike, and it's really spiking as things starting to stabilize, and the standards that I showed you at the very beginning start getting some sense, and IEEE and many different organizations are getting involved. The Internet Group Forum, which I'm part of too, we just had some meetings, and there's a lot of vendors locking in there because they know they have to standardize. let me go back here one more. Okay, so these are the different applications. I mean, I just want to leave it here for discussion or questions, but in reality, we have the traditional voice traffic, and let me tell you about this here. There's a plan in the next 2 or 3 years for the voice traffic to be completely disentangled and roll into a data traffic as a service. Voice has been for 4G, um, basically a parallel type of application for the connectivity standpoint to ensure quality of service, to ensure different kinds of things, and roll out upgrades. But with 5G and data, basically it'll be on their one network, and it'll be phased out eventually, or phased in, or collectively into one network. And that's one of the bigger things in the industry. I've been many years, 30 years in this industry, and I work as a director in both networking and then I've been on the telecom side. And with Ericsson, obviously, changing the mindset from the voice and the measurements and the KPIs and everything voiced based on BC hour and based on per minute uses and all that kind of stuff. And even the marketing, changing all the mindset. I don't know if you remember, they used to charge per text for SMS texting. They used to charge per minute. And one time in a company called Singular, they used to have roll-up minutes and all kinds of things that, well, I guess it's just part of the process of changing. As those things, as those models move forward and get reduced and get integrated, we're going to be making room for other devices. And, basically you have drones and education. It's a very important part of right now. A lot of people doing education online. And so this is one of the big requirements of mobile broadband. And to be able to have that with you or access by anybody will be a big changer. Now, one of the things that is critical is the fact that the networks, for the first time, we're going to be able to be independent from an operator. A corporation or enterprise could actually get a license to run their own network with their own in their own manufacturing facility or campus, and be able to have basically assigned to them a band where they can operate independently from an operator. Obviously, there's a competence and knowledge and equipment and things you have to do and build out. And this could be an opportunity for other operators to enter and administer and run those things. But it is also for computing and cloud platform entities and super integrators to bring that about. And those are the things that are we at this stage right now in the United States. And globally, Ovilus right now, but the United States is quite aggressively moving forward on expanding. This is one of the issues that we have to look forward to. It's that we can define our applications, that we can integration, but behind all of this thing is data, all kinds of data we're going to be able to deal with. And one of the most exciting part of it and the most challenging one part of that is be able to have streaming of data, live data that we're going to have to process. How are we going to do BI? How are we going to do reportings? How are we going to present these things? And much of this data will basically sensor-based data in many different sensors from many critical positions. Could be from a healthcare location, and it could be life-threatening. The way you process and handle this data, controlled by many different compliance issues like HIPAA and such. Or it could be just simply a sensor from like what we have right now from your house, security, cameras, and things like that. And then in between that, businesses and enterprises who will start using technology to be able to cut the cables per se, and be able to start relying more on this new technology of 5G. So the impact to the data is quite big. It's nothing to be worried about, but it's something to be watched on because there's so many standards, so many different things. So we have ecosystems, and then we obviously have Azure and Microsoft leading the way, and then there's many different there's a channel for IoT, channel 9, and there's a channel dedicated just to IoT. I think you should be able to communicate and be part of that as you move forward into the ecosystems of the world. Okay, that's pretty much all I have. I think there's more detail that maybe you can access in a blog or presentation, but I didn't want to take more time, leave it for questions if anybody has that, and that's what I have right now.